Hi, welcome to the 2022 Meet the Press Film Festival at Doc NYC. Thank you to everyone for coming out. It was some very moving programming we just saw. Maybe take a minute to take a deep breath and process and take it in. We're just coming off an election where Republican candidates really used immigration in their closing arguments. And a lot of the story has been told by feuding politicians. It's less often that we hear from immigrants themselves, as we just did with these three really moving pieces. I'm Molly O'Brien, by the way. I'm head of documentary at NBC News Studios, and I'm very happy to be here with you and excited to be joined by, and I hope they're all here, I don't see them standing in the wings, Cythia Wade and Sharon Liese, co-directors of the FLAGMAKERS. Cythia. You want to come take a seat? Anywhere up here, yeah. No, anywhere you'd like. Let's see, sorry. Hi, Sharon. Hi, good to see you. And Radhika from the film. Oh, wow, surprise guest. So nice to have you here. And Amy Bench, director of More Than I Want to Remember. Amy. There she is. Come join us. So, just gather my notes here. Take a seat. Whoops. Okay, so I'm going to ask a few questions, and then I'll open it up to the audience for some questions as well. We don't have mics set up, but so when you ask a question, you'll just say it loud, and I'll repeat it in the microphone so everyone can hear. So let's start with Sharon and Cythia and Radhika, FLAGMAKERS. Tell us how you found this amazing place. I mean, it's hard to believe that it even exists.
Yes, it is. And from the second we walked in the doors, we said we're never going to look at an American flag the same way again. Cythia and I have been working together for many years. We've been friends for many years. We always talk about our projects. She has a series going on Netflix now, I in Stars. We talk about everything, and we always try to look for things to do together, and we're always talking about the state of the world as well. And I talked to Cythia about this story that I found in Kansas City, and she was very interested in it. It was about immigrants and refugees going through a sewing program. So we started following these women who were going through this program. At the end of 6 weeks, one of them got a job at a flag factory. And Cythia and I looked at each other and were like, well, that seems like that's the story. And so we pivoted and started looking for a flag factory where we could film immigrants in. And we did a nationwide search and found Eater Flag. And then Cythia ran up to Milwaukee while she was in Chicago and met with the woman who runs Eater Flag. And it was amazing. The rest is our film.
And were they welcoming you with open arms? Was it easy to get access? Tell us about your process a little bit.
I mean, there are lots of documentary filmmakers here, and access is absolutely the number. More than funding, more than anything, I think access and getting and maintaining access over the period of many years, I think, is the most challenging. The really remarkable thing about Eater, and when we realized it was right, was it is woman-run and employee-owned, so it's unique. And the leader of the Flag Factory, Radis's boss, actually Jody is here in the audience, she took a risk. She took a risk on us. Other people had asked. There was something about our conversation where she was willing to take a risk. I don't think any of us thought it would be 3 years of shooting, but it was through a it was 3 years, 2019 to 2022.
Wow,
yeah.
That's really committed.
Through a pandemic, et cetera, which means, sometimes we couldn't get in, or there were lots of rules in terms of how we would get in or how we would shoot. And then sometimes it was just, we'd say, one more time, we're coming back for one more shoot, which every documentary filmmaker knows what that is in this audience.
And I'm so sorry, can you tell me how to pronounce your name correctly? I did it incorrectly. Tell us.
It's okay, Radica.
Radica. Radica, what was it like for you having Sharon and Cythia follow you around?
It was quite an experience. I never had anything similar before, and it was from the time to time challenging to have movie crew in the factory and production areas, but we work out that, and it was good experience.
And in your house too.
In my house too.
You have such a warm and joyful screen presence. You really are you're sort of a star. You're a star on that screen. You really glow.
Thank you.
So there's one of the opening quotes in the film. You say, "I didn't," something like, I'm gonna paraphrase here. "I didn't realize how much Americans love their flags." When you arrived here, now do you have a better understanding why? And can you explain it to us?
I definitely do have better understanding why. When I arrived in Yugoslavia, when I grew up, and Yugoslavia doesn't exist anymore, we didn't have flags everywhere. And when I came here and I saw flags not only on businesses and official buildings, I saw flags in residential areas. That was kind of surprising to me. And I didn't understand why is that. Now I do understand. It's America is proud. Americans are proud of their flags, and they have reason to be. We have reason to be proud.
Yeah, it feels to me after watching the film too that one of the reasons to be proud is because of our immigrants and the people who come to join us here. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
So Amy, tell us how this film came to you and please tell me how to pronounce the name correctly also.
Yes, Mugeni.
Mugeni is doing now. And tell us the origin story of how you came to the film.
So much like your opening to this Q&A, I was interested in helping to lift up voices of those that we weren't hearing from. We've been hearing a lot from politicians about what immigration was doing to this country, and as a female filmmaker, I felt like I needed to step in and help change that narrative and let people speak who had been through migration experiences and journeys to get here. So I learned about the unaccompanied refugee minor program that Mugeni came through, and I talked to her foster agency based in Michigan that resettles a lot of unaccompanied refugee minors like Mugeni. And she had actually, for the same reason, been wanting to tell her own story. She knew who President Trump was, and she basically wanted to meet him and tell him why she thought he should care about her and other people who had been forced out of their homes. So this film was basically a response to the immigration policy and the actions that his administration was taking to dismantle our refugee admissions. And what was the second part of the question? Oh, how's she doing now? It's a very complicated question, but she's living in Dallas now. She moved during the pandemic to be closer. She got married, and her husband is actually in Africa still. So this phase of her journey is now, she just passed her citizenship exam, and she's trying to get her husband to come over and meet his child for the first time. So.
Wow. Well, you have to tell her that what this was all like for us. Has she seen the film? I mean, it was a very moving experience for us.
Yes.
What does she think of the film?
She really loves it. I think it's really meaningful to her. The first time she saw it with her foster mom, who you see in the film, and her foster grandma. It took her several months to be able to want to watch it. I wanted to get her feedback before the film was done, but I think it was really hard for her to relive a lot of those moments. But yeah, she really loves it. I was able to share images when we were designing Mugeni's animated self. We were able to share those images, and so she loved it from the start, but watching the film took a while.
The animation is beautiful. There's that moment where she meets her mother, and there's this sort of ribbon swirling around her mother, and then that same ribbon reappears when they're embracing. Was that you? I didn't notice in the, sorry, I should have noticed in the credits who the animator was. Were you collaborating with someone, or is that yourself?
Yes, the animator is named Maya Edelman. So she did the design. Yes, she did the animation design, and I worked with a team of animators to design that. But yeah, I guess it's one of Maya's strengths is using metaphor in expressing emotion. And so that was one of the threads throughout. It's also when Mugeni is at one of her lowest points when she's in Kenya and just doesn't know what to do. The ribbon comes in when she says, like, you just have to decide to heal your heart. And that's the first time you see the ribbon, but that kind of comes in throughout.
It's really beautiful visual metaphors, yeah. And in Cythia and Sharon, in your film as well, so much metaphor. The flag, there's that moment where Ali is describing on the phone, I think, to his wife, that he's been attacked, he's been assaulted, and then he hangs up and turns to the flag.
And then he starts making another American flag for somebody. And that was the genesis of the idea of this film is, I think that both Sharon and I, when we were talking about this originally, is why do we feel uncomfortable in terms of like putting a flag up? And why is it if a flag is on, bumper sticker on the back of a pickup truck or in front of somebody's house, it signals something, like it's been so co-opted and weaponized and then just ideologically weaponized, but then of course on January 6th, very physically weaponized. So that was the genesis, was just like, it's still a flag that represents this country. And of course, this is a place where almost 200 refugees and immigrants are making the flag, and at least 10 people touch one flag that goes out, and they make 5 million flags a year. So that's where it started. But yeah, that's that moment. Interestingly, that was election night 2020, and we filmed the entire Milwaukee election and our flag makers going in and voting, and there were only 2 moments from that shoot. One was that night when he recounts being hit, and then goes back to this flag that's going to go out somewhere to somebody. And the second was when Barbara picks up the little flag and plants it next to the Trump sign. She was on her way to vote. It's funny what you film and then what ends up in the film.
Yeah, because both of those subjects felt pride in the flag, and for very different reasons.
Dare I say, they feel more pride than some of us might. Do you feel like the effect of your film is some patriotism? Are you reviving patriotism, do you think?
I think that our relationship, each of our relationships with the country, is a very complicated one. I think each of us in this room could say we have a really complicated relationship with this country, and I'm sure with the flag as well. But we live in a gray area world, right? And we are all very complicated people. So we really we didn't want to just make a portrait where it's like, isn't this nice? Immigrants and refugees are making the flag. We wanted to spend the time over 3 years, shoot it like a feature film, and then pull it back to a short so that we could explore what are those gray areas? What's that experience for each of those flag makers? But what is our relationship, each of us, to the flag and to the country?
Well, you succeeded at doing that, and I think one of the ways you succeed is you're not afraid of complicating it and being truthful by introducing Sugar Ray, the Black American character. Can you talk a little bit about his role in the film and how that deepens the story for all of us?
Yeah, it was really important for us to include Sugar Ray. I mean, he had a very important job at the Flag Factory. It has an important job, and has a very telling perspective on America. And he has a very complicated relationship with the flag, and he wasn't afraid to share that. And as a matter of fact, I mean, he will not fly an American flag at this time. He flies, he would, if he were to fly a flag, it would be a Milwaukee Bucks flag. So, he knows where he stands. But as he says in the film, you can love this country, but sometimes it doesn't love you back. And that was like, was kind of the soul of the film.
Radicia, are you still in Serbia? Are you visiting us from Serbia? Tell us about your life now.
Well, right after movie was done, I moved back to Serbia. And yes, now I am visiting here. I'll be here till 26th. And my life in Serbia, it's a little bit different than here, but good different. I mean, I am happy in both places. I feel at home in America, and I feel at home in Serbia.
That's clear. You're a world citizen. Amy, do you have plans for the film in some sort of like impact plans or kind of community building plans for the film? Tell us about your distribution dreams. No.
Yeah, the dream is that Congress can see the film, and next time they're writing the next presidential determination, I can't remember a long phrase for like how we set our immigration levels each year and what the caps are and how the programs are going to be supported. I'm hoping that this film can be used for that. We have done a screening in Austin, where I live, for a couple of refugee organizations. One's called Girl Forward, that basically mentors young girls between 14 and 18 who are in middle and high school and who have recently immigrated within the last few months or years. People help with their homework and just life mentorship. So we raised money for that organization and Refugee Services of Texas. They have a branch in Chicago, so we're hoping to do a screening there too. But yes, right now I'm working on reaching out to refugee organizations across the country to get the film out. It's going to be on Paramount Plus later this month, so anyone can see it. But we do think it's important to bring it to different communities and politicians.
That's great. Congratulations. So tell your friends Paramount Plus and National Geographic.
Yeah, actually, well, I'll just pause for a minute to just say one thing, which is that there are a lot of people in this audience that helped make this film. So thank you. We have funders and executive producers in the audience, as well as crew members. So thank you. And so we started as an independent film, and through the generosity and belief in executive producers, we about halfway through Nat Geo picked it up. But Nat Geo is owned by Disney. So it will be on Nat Geo on December 8th and Disney Plus on December 21st.
Congratulations to both of you. It's great. It's wonderful that short documentaries are finding streaming homes. It's wonderful for all of us. It's good for the industry. I would like to acknowledge that the director, Olivia Martin McGuire, is not here, unfortunately, the director of Freedom Swimmer, another wonderful addition to tonight's programming. So thank you, Olivia, if you ever see this. Questions? You must have some. Yes?
I have a question for, sorry, your name, but you were the one that had the
Amy?
topic. Yes, thank you. Regarding the immigrants and the refugees in Austin screening there, and you also were going to do one in Chicago, and I'm really curious because obviously Texas migrants and refugees is like such a hot topic. So I was just kind of curious, like, what was the difference if you felt one yet in like the screen in the different parts of the country and how people are reacting to the material?
So the question was, what's the difference between the audience reaction in Texas versus the rest of the country?
That's an interesting question. I think in Texas, a lot of us feel, I think there's even a line in your film about like, don't want to move to Texas, and that's where I live. And it's probably why I think stories like this are so important. There are a lot of people in Texas who do not feel that we are properly represented. So the film played really well in Texas the few times that it's played there. I think it galvanized, especially when you feel like you are in the minority, which you may not be, you're just districted that way. Films like this, and we had someone who was part of Girl Forward and had recently immigrated talk about herself. I think it gives people hope that we can, that these things do matter. Texas actually is the state that takes the second most number of immigrants in the country. So we are a very welcoming state, but our politics don't reflect that.
My family helped found it, so. But I also, that's why I have a complicated relationship with it as well, because
Yeah.
I'm very liberal.
It's why a lot of us feel like we can't leave. We have to stay and keep fighting.
I have to. Good for you.
We have another question here in the front row, I believe. Oh, no. Yes? No. Any questions? Yes.
My question was about like the choice of making it an animation. Was it to kind of like preserve? Was it for the comfort of your
Mugeni.
Yamagini? I'm just curious about the creative process of that. And also, I like to say that I'm with Define America, a narrative change organization as well. They're senior manager of entertainment, and just love your film, all of your films. They're just really beautiful.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah.
Animation, it was really important for this to be a first-person narrative, so Mugeni's voice is the only one you hear, and so that was one reason. The voice is very strong and central to the film. I think her sharing her journey is really impactful, and I think with animation is a medium that can be used to take you anywhere, take a viewer anywhere, so no conversation is off the table. I think I was interested in both her physical journey and her emotional journey coming to the United States, and so that's why I chose animation. I also think animation reaches different audiences. You know, this film is actually also very impactful for children. I didn't make it for kids, but it's something that, speaking of impact, like it's been screening in schools as well, and I was able to do a Q&A recently, and just hearing the questions that the kids ask, they're actually asking questions like similar to audiences of adults. It's really thought-provoking for them. And so I have 2 kids. I read a lot of picture books with them. There's a lot of reasons that I'm interested in animation, but those are some of them.
Yes.
I had a question for Cythia. You must have heard a lot of very powerful and moving stories. How did you choose the ones that you ultimately settled with?
So the question is, how did you choose the stories that you ultimately settled with? And I'll just add 3 years. Yeah, that's a long commitment. Talk a little bit about that.
It was tough because there were 200 people that worked there, and there were 200 unique and interesting stories that we could have told. So it was really hard. And there are stories that we couldn't tell that we wanted to tell because of the safety, that it would jeopardize the safety of some of the people there. So those people were off the table. But you know, Radissa, when we first met her, we thought she's our guide. And then we actually veered away from that because we thought, we started editing, and we edited for a year, and we thought, well, maybe we'll just do verite only. And then we kind of circled back and said, you know, Radissa's the way to lead us through these stories. But we had a lot of stories, and they may be told somewhere else.
She's setting me up for this. We actually we pitched and have been pitching a series just because we have so much, and we also, in the middle of the pandemic, we couldn't get into the factory, so we were like, okay, we'll just drive around to communities where things are exploding around a flag. So we have all these flag stories in other parts of the country of where people are either galvanizing or fighting, or there's an issue around a flag. So we did that for a while and then came back to the factory. But so we have that series that we are pitching, although it's an anthology, and anthologies are very, very hard to sell through. But based on the documentary, there is a production team that has licensed the rights to develop a Broadway musical based on the FLAGMAKERS, which may happen or may not. It could take a decade, but sort of in the vein of Come From Away. And if it happened, which who knows, at least then there's lots of other stories based on what we've filmed that could be included.
That's wonderful. Another kind of new development for our industry is documentaries are being used as IP for musicals and scripted narratives, and you know, it just goes on and on. It's good for all of us, I think. Yes.
This question is for
Yes. Do you know a publisher? Yeah.
Business is being done.
Yeah, no,
Terrific. The
Yeah.
gentleman here in the glasses, yes.
Yeah, I was curious, how did the flag company come to hire all immigrants? How did that get started?
So the question is, how did the flag company come to hire what feels like it's almost exclusively immigrants, except for Barb?
Yeah, I mean it's a huge company and there are multiple buildings. We see part of it in the film. Part of it is that when you think about people around the world, most families have sewing machines in their homes around the world. Like, it is just a skill that most people have, men and women. And so, having a sewing machine is very typical. And if you are coming to the United States and maybe you don't know English, it's sort of a perfect job to sort of onboard as your first job in the United States. Eater works with a couple of different placement agencies. I would say, as an aside, too, the Midwest, it's surprising that no matter where you go in this country, there are these pockets of either immigrant populations or refugee populations. Like, it's always more surprising and diverse than I think the mainstream media paints, sort of the Midwest. So it's this remarkably diverse place. The food's amazing to eat there. Jody runs a great organization. Like, really, they work so hard. In fact, I think that your flags have increased, like, the demand for flags has gone up 300% or 500%, something insane, since we started shooting in 2019. And part of it was the election. I think part of it is just the polarization. Part of it is just this sort of tribal mentality that a lot of Americans have. I mean, many reasons, but they're working now second shifts and weekends, and they can't keep up with the demand of flags, which is interesting too.
Yes, right there.
The FLAGMAKERS story was the story of the assimilation of the immigrants into the United States, but the immigrants came from a lot of different countries, and a lot of them were opposed to each other. Serbia and Bosnia, for example. What was the relationship among the immigrants? Was there any issues there?
Radisa, you want to answer that?
I like to say Either Flag is a unique place, and I am from Serbia. I am Serbian, and yes, I did have employees from Bosnia, from Croatia, from Kosovo, Albania, and Mexico, Africa, from everywhere. But even you have that conflict and in Europe, in between people. In our company, we don't actually see each other like Serbian or Croatian or Muslim or Catholic or anything. We are just either employees. And I think it takes a lot of respect and a lot of understanding of each other. And we never had a problem with any of those issues.
If I can be so bold, that I also would say that it's trickling down from leadership, from management, and the way that you're treating everyone and exercising with them. And I mean, it just captured a really nice culture, it seems. A lot of companies could learn something from you, Jody. Yes. Red shirt, sorry.
Yes, Ali is doing very well. Let's see, Sugar Ray. We're going to see them all. They're going to finally see the film in Milwaukee in 2 days, so we go there tomorrow. But Barb, as you know, retired, and we're hoping to get her to. Her health is iffy, but we are hoping to get her to the premiere in Milwaukee.
Yes, right here in the front.
Oh. The question is, why Eater, the name of the company? Oh, the root of it means flock in Hebrew. Amazing. So it's a family, the Eater family, a 100-year-old company. Jody, you started working there when you were 18? Yeah? And so she is from the community. She became very close with Mr. Eater, understood, and just really worked her way up through the ranks and Eater Flag, and eventually became the CEO of Eater Flag. And is, you know, I think that in part when we talked to her about the project, the reflection that she was making is this something that Mr. Eater would want? So it is a family name. It's a family business.
I think we're at time, yes? Time to wrap it up. But what a wonderful screening and lively discussion. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Meet the Press and NBC News.
Molly, can I just, if I can for a minute, Jill Malouf is here, who's assistant camera. Maya Shenfield is here. If you guys can just stand for a minute. Composer. Heidi Gutman, photographer. Pamela Reichman, executive producer. Deb Van Eck, executive producer. Luana Alicio, if you're here. Sam, is Sam here? Okay. And Amy, is there anybody that you want to recognize? Just because it really does take everybody.
Turn my mic off. I have friends here, but unfortunately nobody from the team. But thank you all for coming. It's really meaningful to be able to have these discussions.
Thanks, everybody.